All being here, and I just wanted to welcome you to the first session at the HSBC Piazza. So the session is called Khaki Lines and Steel Frames, where Mr. Rajesh Patel, who's on his way, Veena, Raman ma'am, and will discuss the chronicles of police and bureaucratic life, and they will be in conversation with Mr. Mrityunjay Singh. So I'd like to welcome them on stage to start the session.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have started late, but interesting stories are never late. It doesn't get affected by that. We'll always have something to hear from Veena ji. I welcome you all on behalf of Kolkata Coal India Kolkata Literary Meet. I welcome Veena Raman ji on the dais, and of course my other panelist, Mr. Rajesh Patil, is delayed because of the fog and his flight getting delayed. I have gone through both the books because when I was told to moderate the session, I had to go through the book page to page so that I don't miss out on any detail. And I can tell you that both the books, when I read, through those two stories, we are going to have the chronicles of police and bureaucratic life, as the theme says. I was wondering why the bureaucratic was kept slightly separate from the police, because police also is a part of bureaucracy. So it's bureaucratic life, so to say. I have personally enjoyed both the books, a very racy and lucidly written tale of their lives, unique in their own ways, while Vijay Raman's account tells us about some of the most chilling stories of how he dealt with dacoits like Pan Singh Tomar, on which we all have seen a film in 2012, a kind of a hit movie, Malkhan Singh and others. His tryst with dealing with terrorists like Baba Ghazi, who was behind the dastardly attack on Indian Parliament, you all remember, erecting barbed wire fencing on Indo-Pak border in the face of continuous firing by the Pakistan army. So you can imagine how ingeniously and how he must have manipulated his way through to create that. And his adventure of circumnavigating the globe in record time to make a place into the Guinness Book of Records, his personal interactions with 4 prime ministers when he was working in the SPG. He has served as a security man for 4 prime ministers. It's a unique distinction for any person who has worked in SPG as their security in charge, and many more. Whereas about Rajesh Patil, I will certainly talk later, but Rajesh Patil's story is of child living in deprivation and penury, a farmhand, a farmer, a child labor, continuously navigating to survive a day. It's very touching kind of a story, starting with a child's aimless dreams to tasting the bitter reality, and then mustering the grit and determination to crack the toughest examination of UPSC to get into IAS. It presents a rainbow of trials and tribulations, ladies and gentlemen. When Rajesh comes, we will talk about that. Now, both have their own trajectories, their lives, their own path. But I see a common thread between the two. And what is the common thread? If you haven't read the book, Mr. Vijay Raman initially was Indian Ordnance Service officer, and that is where he met his better half, who later became a better half, Ms. Veena ji. Before Veena ji, he did not crack the IPS. He became IPS only after her entry into his life. Similarly, Rajesh also, after many times, many failures, he also succeeded to crack IAS only when he gets married to Smita ji. So and still Rajesh says that I don't believe in God, I don't believe in fate. I mean, what I was thinking, and yet people say there is nothing called destiny, really. I will request first Veena madam to come up with her version of in thoughts and reaction about this particular thread, that how she met and how it has affected or must have affected his career and his life.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Hello.
And I would like to thank the Calcutta Literature Festival and especially Malavika for having given my husband's book an opportunity to be on this platform and present to you his life journey. Well, Vijay was a police officer from the IPS Academy, and as you know, the National Police Academy, they train you in various fields. Here, Mr. Mrityunjay also is from there. So when Vijay was in the police academy at that point of time, he visited the police store, and where he heard the storekeeper tell one of them that, these medals are to be earned and they cannot be bought. So Vijay secretly was filled with determination to earn a medal, and he did. Finally, he got the President's Gallantry Medal, a police medal for gallantry, then he got the President's Police Medal for meritorious service, then the President's Police Medal for distinguished service. This later on, of course, he went on to do, like he informed you, that he was actually a real life hero for me also, which, like he talks about me meeting him. Yes, I would say yes, I can't say I influenced him, but he was on his own. He was a real life hero, not a real life hero. If you go through the journey of his in the book, it sounds like a real hero, where you have crime, thriller, murder, mystery, as well as romance. And the romance was when he got married. I did not realize that till the publisher once, when he was talking at the launch, he said, "Oh, there's romance in this book." I said, "Where is the romance?" Then he suddenly realized he was talking about how we got married. So he was one of those who took courage in his hands, and that's how he sort of asked my father for my hand before asking me. So even at a young age, when you see he was in school and his father was transferred out and he was in class 11, and that's when he would lose a year if you're going out there, but yet he went to his principal, who was a nun, and said, "Mother, I would like to sort of stay back in the school for a year because otherwise I lose a year." The mother superior was a little fixed because it was only a girls' hostel and there were no boys there. Yes. So he managed to do that. So he always took things very positively and led from the front. So this is a first-hand account of the Pan Singh Tomar encounter along with his gang, who decimated in a 14-hour dusk to dawn encounter, which was a very difficult encounter where he was actually caught between the crossfire of the police and the dacoits. And that's when he got his gallantry medal, and later on he was spearheaded the attack on Ghazi Baba, the mastermind behind the parliament attack, and put an end to his thing, which was also one of the very, these incidents had impact. These are like historical facts which changed to a great extent the history of that region. For instance, the killing of Pan Singh Tomar actually started the surrender of Phulan Devi and Malkhan Singh. And that's when it impacted the villagers. They were freed from the terror of dacoits, and at the same time you had decline in dacoity in the Chambal ravines, where today you find no dacoits today.
Yeah, ma'am, but then there was one very distinctive part of, I would say, the character of the whole story and the character of the person involved. That even when he was dealing with people like Malkhan Singh as you said, and he picks up his informer and harborer, that Vakil Veena Singh Bhadoria. Before that, he worked his way through to facilitate and make requests to the government to create a law. That means, look at the person, and there's another example. First, when he was ASP only, in Dabra, I think,
Yes.
where Durga Singh episode happens. This Durga Singh, the dacoit, he has been caught by him, and when the whole constabulary almost went against him, they wanted to kill him, that he is a dreaded dacoit, we are not going to arrest him. Still he prevailed on them. He gets a bullock cart, gets them, all the gang tied safely so that they cannot run away from there. And later, when he comes back to the districts again after a few years, and he finds that the informer of his has been, the dead body is unidentified, a dead body has been found, and he 100 kilometers away from his headquarters. When he goes there to supervise the case, he finds that informer of his dead body is lying dismembered, limbs broken, and mauled, so to say.
And then also he leaves a note for Vijay. This is
yes.
He leaves a note
Leaves a note for Mr. Vijay Raman.
Yeah.
And how he must have felt. That is what we would like to know, that a person, an officer who continuously thinks of serving the nation through justice, through the law, through everything well-meaning, not trying to go on the other side of the law, yet he has to be, once he says that while dealing with the dacoits, we have to, I realize that I have to dehumanize myself. The process of dehumanization, I mean, you being his wife must have felt the heat or the turmoil of him.
Yes, it was a very difficult period for him, because you see, when you're in the academy, you're told to uphold the law and also protect human rights. At the same time, you go as per the constitution.
Yes.
But on the ground, things are so different. So when this happened, it was like he decided to get the dacoit surrender and then leave it to the law. But when later on he found that there was a piece of note left for him, ki this is your gift from me, that hit him very hard, because he could not imagine that they can be so bad. And that's when he felt he was dehumanized, in the sense law was not taking his course, he thought, or what it was, but that changed him. And that's how what happens to the normal public think, oh, the police people are very, very strong in their behavior, or what it is. But then this is how, what the circumstances make them hardened. So he says, like in Dom Moray's book, which Dom Moray's had come and was going around in Chambal, which was actually saying, the dacoits have to face certain situations, and that's why they have changed, the nature changes and things like that. But when he saw his own men being massacred or crippled, or villagers had to face these things, so he said, I have become like my enemy. I have also become dehumanized. I have to treat them in the manner that they have been treated. I have to show them the law.
And something I would like to reflect on, that once he talks about his book has a certain lessons which he has learned, I would say thoughts in its kind of a very strained and a solid form, where he writes that all norms, legality and laws also have to obey, obey the geographical boundaries. What happens then in a village in Umra or Umri village, where a lower caste boy has been getting married, and his procession goes, and there's one of these Rajputs who are sitting in their kind of a house veranda and all, they make a very lewd kind of a comments and make personal comments on him. And then finally one of them says that, look at these chamars who only pick up beauties, man, they have some kind of a beauties. So what happens after that, all this boy, the groom, has been listening about everything, and all of a sudden he come after the marriage is done, ceremony is over, he comes back with his gun, loads the gun, aims to the person who had made this kind of a comment and shoots him down, and after that he runs away. For 34 days, now think about a police officer, for 34 days continuously, this officer along with a posse of people and everybody has to remain in that area, patrolling and trying to ensure that these people, the higher caste people, and these people do not have a... So 34 days he must have been literally out of home.
Yes.
And secondly, I would like you to reflect on that also when Malkhan Singh has sent him a threatening letter that you also have wife and children. And what he did is, listen to this, wow, how interesting, that he went, picked up Malkhan Singh's family, brought them, kept them, fed them and did everything, and then in the night got them back in the house. Only as a kind of a reply to his challenge that if we want, we also can do this. So don't challenge me on that count.
Yeah. Actually, once I was just cleaning up his pant pockets, and I found a letter which I just opened and I read. It says, Dasyu Samrat Malkhan Singh.
That letter is in the book. I mean, it's a photo is in the book.
Yeah, and which he says कि आप मेरे family को तंग करना बंद करिए, stop singing my family. I can pick up your son, you have only one son, I can pick him up anytime. And that was the time I really was petrified. And I went to him with the letter. He says, what kind of a letter is this? He says, oh, let me see. He just took the letter, tore it up and threw it. He says, oh, there are many of them coming like this, so don't worry about it. But for me it was very difficult. But the same Malkhan Singh, after the surrender, of course, there was a lot of, after Pan Singh's encounter, you had the surrenders because there was a fear now of death in them. Once Malkhan Singh and Phulan Devi found that Pan Singh was killed, he said, ki now this is our chance. So they surrendered, and of course Vijay was transferred out, because when it came in the newspapers as the first condition that Vijay Raman should be transferred out, only then we will surrender. And after say 6-7 years after his surrender, and he was on parole, one day my son, my husband, fortunately was there on that Sunday. We used to have these Doordarshan movies where, Sunday we used to watch, and then interval we used to have quickly cook up something for dinner and stuff like that. And the bell rang, doorbell rang, and then Vikram, my youngest, the son was there, so he has to go and open the door. We were living in a flat on the 8th floor in a multi-storied in Delhi. So my son went and opened the door, and lo and behold, he found 3-4 men with, guns and mustaches and, looking very hefty looking guys. So he was scared. He had never seen them. So he said, yes. So he says, यहाँ पे रमन साहब रहते हैं? So he says, हाँ रहते हैं. तो उनको बोलो मलखान दद्दा आया है. Now my son was petrified. He quickly locked the door and came running and told, Papa, there is some person called Malkhan Dadda. Now Vijay could never imagine in Delhi, Malkhan Dadda, he only knew Malkhan Singh as a dacoit, and no one else is Malkhan Dadda. He says, why would anyone come to meet me? Anyway, he went to the door and he saw, lo and behold, it was Malkhan Singh with his 4 men standing at the door. He said, okay. He had no other go but then to let them come inside the drawing room. There was no other place to take them. So where our family and friends sat, there comes the dacoit and sits there. And he says, yes, and then the niceties, how are you okay with the parole, and things.
So he touched his feet, sar pe unke tilak lagaya, then gave him 101 rupees as a shagun, and he only came to inform him that your transfer did not happen because of us.
It was not his condition.
Yes, it was not my condition. It was because those dubious journalists, the 3 of the journalists who wrote a book on Malkhan Singh, the Sam Mukherjee and the 3 of them, they had masterminded, they actually manipulated the government and the political power.
So actually what happened was they had certain conditions. Like Malkhan Singh, Vijay had started negotiating, but he had conditions, like I want so many guns, I want land, I want my cases to be done in Madhya Pradesh.
Yes.
So Vijay said, hello, you are surrendering or am I surrendering? It can't be like that. So that is when, things changed, and then Vijay was transferred out, but it was there that it came out that his first condition was that Vijay should be transferred out. So when he said that, Vijay said, it's okay. You did your job, I did my job, it's fine. I mean, now you're happy, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. But he kept insisting twice or thrice कि sir मैंने आपका transfer नहीं कराया, मैं आप ही I wanted to surrender to you. So Vijay said it's fine now. I mean I'm accepting your surrender, but it's fine. And that's how when I I was there standing listening to this, and then I felt, oh my God, even the outlaws and the criminals, they respect your integrity and your valor. But yet I had a grouse against him, so I had a camera and I said, Vijay, I need to take a photograph of yours with Malkhan Singh. So Vijay said, what rubbish, why do you want to take? I said, no, I want to take. So then I just took a photograph, and Vijay was very annoyed with me because I had taken a photograph with him in the drawing room sitting with a gun. And he said, later on he says, what is this? Why did you do? I said, see, I have to tell my grandchildren, ki instead of running after me, you were running after this dacoit, So that is a story, but then it really spoke volumes of Vijay's integrity and valor, which even the outlaws.
And that brings to my mind a very interesting story when he was looking after the security of various prime ministers. So he of course travelled all around abroad. So one of the Chogam conferences in Bahamas, I think.
Yeah, Bahamas.
And it's a very interesting story about the Gaddafis, that the fierce women security officers, and how, ma'am, you have to say that, how she cut the somebody's,
so actually what happened,
somebody's ear or so.
So that is, like they had gone for the Chogam, and every prime minister or the dignitary was accompanied by their people, the security till a certain extent, and then their local people, police would take over and take them to the assigned seats. So like Mr. Rajiv Gandhi was when Vijay went with him, and then he was taken and gone on. Then Mr. Gaddafi came. So with him he had these women security officers who were really coiffured with nails and but real solid ones. And they were like cats, they were called cat kind of things, So they just walked past. Then the person stopped him. Stopped them, ki no, you have to stop here and we will guide them ahead. But they just didn't bother, they wouldn't argue. And then one of them just went and bit one of them in the ear. And they were so stunned because the police people are used to, hitting or pushing or whatever it is. But they were never used to someone biting the ear. So they just, they were stunned, and these ladies just went, took Gaddafi, put him there and came back. And now this gentleman was stunned, and like all these officers who accompanied the prime ministers or the presidents, they came and stood at the back. And this gentleman also stood next to Vijay, and Vijay suddenly noticed his ear was bleeding. So Vijay just sympathetically said, oh, I hope it's not too bad and all that. He says, that's all right, but what am I going to explain to my wife that who bit my... So, these kind of many incidents Vijay used to share with us. Yeah.
And yet another something comes to my mind when he came in Chambal area in his second stint as an IG, I think, in 1999 or so. Then there were this Kushwaha gang was very, very prominent there. Somewhere he taking a very practical look at the whole thing, how dacoity is, the whole dynamics and economics of dacoity, and how he says that it is policemen, advocates, lawyers, politicians. It was a kind of a business being run. I mean, they created dacoits. It was a kind of economic kind of their device to sustain themselves, and dacoity was sustained like that. So while dealing with Raju Kushwaha, he at one place, Raju Kushwaha finally gets killed, and on him he carried a 2 lakh reward then on his head, and all the money was given to Sir to give it to whosoever, out of which that elderly were Raju Kushwaha's mother-in-law, who became the informer of Sir. She took only 20,000 rupees for herself, and the rest of the money was deposited in the account of his grandchildren.
Daughters of
grandchildren, daughter of the grandchildren.
Dacoits children.
Dacoits children.
Yeah.
That when they grow, they come of the kind of adult age or something,
Yeah.
then they would be.
Yeah, correct.
I would like to.
That's right. Yeah.
You to reflect on that.
Well, it was a very unusual thing for Vijay, because here was a lady who was a mother-in-law who was wanting her son-in-law to surrender, because Vijay had a reputation that he would sort of decimate him, and so she came with the plea that please don't kill my son-in-law, I will get him to surrender. And so she became the informer for my husband. And Vijay ensured that he was sort of able to be captured without killing him. But later on it did happen. But that is how he managed to get people with him, because he had that human touch and he understood the people and their problems. That's when, people really respected him and came to him with a lot of information. And because he always believed that information from the people is what the police gather, and that's when they can actually act. So it was a very interesting, but he was also disturbed that these kind of things are happening. And later on, of course, you will find that dacoity is no longer there in Chambal region, and he went on to J&K, where also he was in the midst of things. He set up the security for Mr. Farooq Abdullah after the turmoil in J&K. So he had this compassion for people.
Yeah, and that brings me to the Ghazi Baba episode. Ghazi Baba, as you know, that he was behind the Indian attack on the Indian Parliament. I'd like to read that portion. How first he meets Ghazi Baba, he sees him through his informer, and he almost he opened the gate of his car and he almost was going to pounce upon him to capture him, when his informer caught hold of him and said, "Janab, ruko, 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 ruko." I'll just read that portion. See what all happens behind the screen, and we do not know what kind of dangers we are entering into. Where he says that when Ghazi Baba was seen there, and it was known that Ghazi Baba, whenever he came out in the air, he was playing with his own children perhaps, and whenever he came out, he used to strap himself with a bomb, so that whenever he is attacked or he is taken down, everybody goes off with that. And that kind of a situation, this man informer catches hold of him and he says, he was very angry. He says, "Why did you stop me? You showed me, you identified him." He says, "Sir, he is strapped with bomb. He gets killed, you also get killed." And then it takes time to again investigate and again go after him, and it takes some time again. Ma'am will reflect on that.
Yeah, actually Vijay used to be like, when he was posted there, like morning to night he was all the time, because those are very difficult times, and he had a lot of people had faith in him because he was very just. And so this informer had informed him, okay, I will take you to this area where you will find Ghazi Baba. So while they were driving down, they suddenly found, he just said, stop, slow down. So Vijay said, what happened? So he says, you can see that person, he's actually Ghazi Baba, because Ghazi Baba was changing his face, sometimes with a beard, without a beard, and how they were going in incognito. And he says, that's Ghazi Baba. So Vijay's immediate reaction was that he should just open the door and go. But that's when he caught him by his hand, and he said, and told the driver immediately, you just put your leg on the accelerator and just move fast, don't stop here. And that's when, and then he just stopped back home. And when Vijay's hand was absolutely like black and blue, so he was really annoyed. He said, why did you stop me? We had people. He says, no, you don't realize he was strapped with bombs all over his body. So the moment he find someone suspicious or anything, he would have just blown himself up and you would have been blown out. So he also saw that people were there to respect him and at the same time protect him too.
Yeah.
This also another case when he was with the JNK police. He used to take a certain route to go to his office. One day his driver took another route and said ki, like Vijay was going through the files for a meeting and they took another route. And when he reached there, he says, why are you taking me by this route? He says, nahi sir, wo wahan pe kuch problem hai. He says, okay. Then he was so busy with it. When he reached office, after the meeting, he heard there was a bomb blast on the route which he used to take every time. So that is when he realized that his own people from Kashmir had actually saved him, because they probably knew, but they can't do anything about it. But if they would have gone by the normal route, he would have been no more. So he always felt the people helped him, and especially his juniors. He took lessons from everybody. He said you can learn from juniors, your colleagues, seniors, but he learned a lot from his juniors. And similarly in the Ghazi Baba encounter, after this, he was apprehended and then he went to the spot, and one or two of his men were actually injured and they were in the building, and now they were trying to see how, without the terrorists knowing, how they can get them down. And when one of the juniors suggested, ki, sir, we have so many, but let's get some mattresses.
They got pile of mattresses,
and
they suggested them to jump from there.
So unfortunately, Vijay, he was a Malayali, and one of the officers who was injured was also a Malayali. So if they would have spoken on their walkie-talkie, the terrorists also are on the same, they get the same frequency.
Yeah.
So they can always intercept your messages. So he thought best was to speak to him in Malayalam. So he spoke to his officer in Malayalam saying that we are making arrangements for you to just slide down so that they don't come to know that we are trying to rescue you. So can you do that? So the gentleman who was there was a Malayali, so he said, yes sir, we can do it. At this point of time, they managed to get them and send them to hospital, and after that they blew up the building and Ghazi Baba was killed. But here every incident or every chapter you see, he is learning from his juniors as well.
Yeah, and even situation. I mean, I would describe in short, when this Indo-Pak border thing was being done, and when CPWD could not do it, then it was given to the BSF. He was in the BSF, in charge in BSF. And when they started, the excavator has a lever that has to be raised and come down for the shovel, the excavating part of the equipment to dig out soil. The Pakis would target the junction between the two arms. Once that got damaged, the equipment was ruined and nothing could be done. That excavator had to be replaced. We reacted by encasing it in a bulletproof material. That protected the joint, but then they started firing at the driver's cabin. So our driver also got injured twice. So what they did was that then the driver cabin was made bulletproof, so that it can the bullet cannot pierce through and the work can go on. And then further, what they did was, when they were excavating, the lot of soil was coming out. They created out of that soil a mud or wall, so that even if you fire now, it will not reach to this side at all. In fact, later those all trenches and the wall has been used by army for their convenience. Even today it is being used, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay.
And ma'am, I would like to you to tell people about his world, circumnavigating the world and getting into the Guinness Book of Records. You must be knowing, even if it's written in the book, but you must be knowing the inside story.
Apart from his policing, he got into this adventure, of going around the world in an Indian car, which was like when he was working in the Prime Minister's security, he took leave for about 35-40 days because they were planning to break the record in 31 days. And along with...
Yeah, we have our another panelist, Rajesh is here. Come Rajesh, welcome. Welcome to the panel. So we are already on. Yeah. Good, no problems. In fact, we are sorry that you had to be, taken back to Bhubaneswar was not leaving you.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
ma'am.
yeah. So that is the time they decided to take an Indian car and go around, because there has a sector which is called circumnavigation around the world, and they had planned to do it in 31 days. It all started with one gentleman who was a friend of Vijay's colleague, who did the Himalayan car rally, and where he came and said everyone was congratulating him, and Vijay said, okay, now you've done it in India, now do something internationally where India would be made proud. So after a month or two, he came back to Vijay and says, sir, I found something. He says, what is it? He says, let's try for the Guinness World Record. So we just, Guinness World Record, yes sir, this is what we can do. In that you had to actually go to all 5 continents and do 40,075 kilometers. And they had to now test the cars and which could go on speed. And it's huge, planning, because they didn't have Google Map.
Yeah.
You didn't have any, except for mails and things like that. So they had to get a lot of permissions, and then the visas, and their vehicle had to travel in the same way, flight. The passengers and the vehicle had to travel. So they had to plan which flight could take their car, and accordingly. So it was a very tough thing, because they had to have different road conditions, left-hand drive, right-hand drive. Then you had a coup in Venezuela, so they had to brave that. After that, they had a blizzard at the New York airport, where they were stopped, but by God's grace I would say they were out of it. And then they reached into Africa, when they were stopped at every place, because there was this we had this Babri Masjid.
Yeah.
So they found that they were asking them to open the bonnet, so they worried, suppose they plant something and they push us into the jail, no one can help us out. So then that's when they decided to change the route. They had to speak to Guineas, they had to change the route, again change their travel plans. Unfortunately, they had to again, then Asia bit they were supposed to do through Saudi Arabia, and because the roads were very good, but then they had to come into India, in Bombay from Frankfurt, and drive down up to Kanyakumari and come back. And I'll just tell you an incident in Australia. When they reached, there was an immigration officer who welcomed them and said, what have you come for, with all the questioning. And they said, oh, we've come to break the Guinness record. He says, in this Indian car? He said, yes, in the Indian car. Oh, come on, I bet it. You're going to do the whole coastal Australia in 8 days? That's not possible. He says, okay, I'll lay a bet you cannot do it. So they said, Are, Indians ko tum kya samajhte ho? Of course, let's lay a bet. So they laid a bet of $100, and they went around and they came back, and lo and behold, the immigration officer was there on that day on their flight to see whether they were catching the flight or not. And he very, magnanimously took out $100 bill and you take it. So these people went and bought some gifts and gave it to him back and said, don't underestimate Indians.
Yeah. So you had a glimpse of most important stories of this book, and the book is there. Did I really do all this? A person who questions himself, did I really do all this? Because he himself did not know what all he is going to face. And I must remind you, since Rajesh also is here now, there is another common thread. That is, that see the passion of the man, that how badly he wanted to be in bureaucracy, wanted to become an IAS officer, landed up being an IPS officer, that his own professor, he was a law graduate, his own professor Harshad Mehta, not of the scam fame, the another Harshad Mehta, he wanted him to join his firm and told him then in 70s that you will, with a salary of 25,000 rupees per month, 25,000 per month. And he goes on to work so hard and gets into a service of Indian police service which gave him only 700 rupees per month. So ladies and gentlemen, there is something about this service and this passion and this, somebody which makes him do a lot of things in the field. And with that, I thank Veena madam I would have liked to tell her about that rickshawala also story of Raipur. But there are a lot of stories, interesting stories in the book. I'm sure you all will like to read the book yourself, the story of the man. And Rajesh, I welcome you to the forum, and already I have introduced you and your book. Rajesh's book is, you can take this mic, it is already on. Uh, this is the book, and the book is the title, it's titled Ma, I Have Become a Collector. So you can imagine the title itself says that how much of hope his mother, whose character we'll talk about, how what a woman of character she was, and because of her perhaps he developed this kind of a grit and that kind of a determination to be where he is today, apart from the destinies and hard work and everything put in together. But this book itself tells about him also, that how badly he wanted this. And the story is flooded with a lot of things which he gains knowledge. Everybody gains knowledge while travels a path. The story about, I would like you to reflect on, this bankers' corruption, then the money lender, how it sustains the whole penury and the deprivation of farmers. So first a little bit about your village Tade. I have gone to that area, Nasik and Malegaon and Nipane and Maiji, all these places. So it was very interesting reading about them. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. First of all, my apologies for reaching late for the session because of the delay in the flight. I have to directly, get transported here. Thank to ma'am also, Banerjee ma'am. So anyway, it is a great opportunity to be here, and as sir was narrating about my book, it is basically on one side it is my story, which you will find in the book as a incidental.
No, your story is still half.
Yeah.
Just a period of that.
Yes, please. So, but it comes to you as a as a narration, as a canvas of the rural Maharashtra, and actually I see myself as a product of a system where you have to toil hard to kind of reach to a place, and while doing that I as a child during those that phase of my life have seen many things from a very close angle. Have seen various aspects in the society, the social and cultural aspect, gender issues, then the economical equations, then the life of farmers, life of everyone who is related with the farmer, and then a family which is now was below poverty line and struggling to just survive. Yes. We were 4 siblings. I was the yeah, not youngest. Yeah. I have a younger sister as well.
Usha, is it?
Yeah,
No.
Usha. So basically, that phase of life in a remote village in the north Maharashtra was, as the book would tell you, had a lot of challenges in terms of even getting basic education. My own village has a school which was up to 4th grade only, and then we had to go out to 20 kilometers to
In and all.
Yeah, Erandol,
Erandol.
my
Not
Tahsil
to
place.
Nipane, because did not have the money to support you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that is all is understandable,
Yes.
and the people will read this touching a story of that very very um, deprived kind of a childhood. But in that kind of a childhood, how he used to make pranks, how he became such a unbearable child for a mother who used to, after beating him also, she did not know what to do about that. And he got into a stealing habit. He got into addicted to gambling also for some time. Tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just about to come to that. So, when the life is already difficult, I used to make my parents' life more difficult. I mean, looking at me as the only male child in the family who has no hopes to give any relief to them in the near future, my mother used to be very angry every day, whole day working in in a field, either in her own field or as a laborer in someone else's field. She would come back to the home and would listen some of my stories of the day, where I would have beaten someone, or I would have stolen something, or I would not have done the work which is assigned to me as a child to support my family. So, I mean, in that situation, I mean, once you are poor, you are vulnerable, you are powerless, and to think something positive and dream
Tell them
also
about
is
that.
a,
Tell them that
yeah,
about that episode when your mother found out that you took somebody's money for
yeah,
buying medicines, and you gambled it out, and then your mother found out and then made you work, leave the school, go and work in the fields and farms, earn that money and give it back to her. That is the
yes,
character of his mother.
yeah.
Please.
So, I mean, the main heroine of the book is my mother, about whom I should say something. She was, though was very poor, but had values, and she was a strong believer of hard work and honesty, and she and all my activities were kind of a torture to her. So every time I used to do, so there are innumerable number of things which I have done in the childhood. Some of them I have narrated in the book, because if I narrate all those things, I think, it would be,
That's why I'm prompting you.
yeah.
Those interesting parts.
So as sir mentioned, on one occasion, like, since I used to travel to my Tahsil place, block headquarter, where my high school was located. So from the village, very few kids used to go there. So if there something has to fetch from the block headquarter, they would give us money to get some medicine or get something, because it was not available in the village. So many times, I mean, I was such a mischievous fellow that time, that if someone gives me money to get something, I would ensure that he, he don't come back to me again to assign the same work. So on one occasion, one small kid was not well, and money was given to me to get some medicine, and I used to gamble, because kids around me, they were like that only. So it was fun, so I was enjoying that, and I thought, why not to gamble this and get some more money and then return this money or get the medicine. But unfortunately, I lost all that money. And that was,
one thing that I would like you to reflect on, which is very interesting,
yeah,
that when you face such deep insult, I mean, literally as deep as, I mean, almost like gnawing at your heart all the time. One was that when he was called, when he used to take loaves to sell in the school and after the school and come back, and he was called Pawala Raju, And second, when you are that friend's house, I think Sangram, no other friend, where is the house where when his uncle, you had to sit in front of his house only and eat, and his father was serving, and you had to hide your face.
Yes.
Please, I mean, these are very insulting moments. A person gets absolutely what to do, but he has to go through that.
Yeah.
Please.
So basically, in that phase, I have gone through so many this kind of incidences and experiences. I was someone like in the village that anyone can come and beat me. Like, why you are doing this? And he will just slap me. And I have no way to respond to that. So that was the situation. So many times, the mothers would scold their kids that why they are playing with me, because I am such a bad fellow. If their kids play with me, they will nothing will happen to them. They will be like me only. So that was the situation, and this used to bring a lot of agony to my mother, who was very woman of pride, who never went out of her. Who never trouble anyone, or no one has said any bad word to her. But whatever insults she was happening to her, it was because of me. So all her agony, she would in the evening would beat me like anything.
Yeah,
and that way.
There is a chapter total, the Bapu tell Anna to repay the money.
Yeah.
I mean, where I call it, this chapter is the turnaround which may, for his kind of a behavioral pattern. And he says, whenever something bad happened in the village, the people believed I had a part in it. Ma would be immensely hurt by this. Once when Ma had gone to a flour mill, the woman who owned the mill scolded and warned her son in front of Ma against getting involved with me. Imagine how insulting it can be for any mother. This hurt her very much and affected her self-esteem, for other village women were watching them. Ma was highly respected and admired in the village. She had held her head high during all sorts of difficulties. So she comes back. When I came home that day, she thrashed me hard for no reason. While she was beating me, I felt that my mother, who had been mountain of courage, suddenly appeared like a piece of melting ice. She looked helpless. I could feel her disgust over my silly and unpleasant acts, and that incident triggered some serious thinking in my not so mature mind. That day had a cathartic effect on my mind. I mean, I also found that has literally changed him forever. And the other person, Sangram, your friend. I would like to both of these to reflect on that.
While this being the background and the helplessness and the poverty, indebtedness, and the situation of desperation everywhere, there was like something in me which was maybe was wanting to come out. A lot of energy was there. So as I grew, maybe what I believe is when something has to happen, it needs a reason. So this, whatever sir said, one fine day when I was in ninth grade that time, and I realized, this has to somewhere stop. I mean, till that time I was maybe it was a fun for me, but then slowly I started thinking seriously. I started thinking about my life, what I need to do, where I have to go, and then everything. I started reorganizing my own life. And that is how by the time I go into grade 10, and in the middle of the grade 10, I could visualize that, even if I put small effort, I am getting good result in the studies. So why not to put some more effort? So slowly I started diverting my energy, and that phase was very difficult because people were looking at me with the same eye that this fellow not, yeah,
Useless fellow.
Yeah, useless fellow.
Useless fellow.
And how he is studying. So my friends also, whenever I used to start studying, they will just pull me. But slowly, I mean, the situation demanded that I have to respond, because it was a survival, something which I need to do for my own survival. And I could see that there is only one path, and that is education. So I have to get into education, not only education, but to reach at the top, so that I do something for my family and then for the people around me. So that is how I started seeing the dream to come out of that situation. So that is something. So my journey at my mental level to how this transformation was took the shape is something which is there in the book. So it's not just a story of rag to riches.
Yeah.
That we can find in any corner of the country. We are a country of say middle class and poor people.
Yes.
So a lot of people come out of this kind of situation. But I wrote the book because I thought the process is something which goes through different turbulences, and all those people who who are in a similar situation maybe would find this some kind of inspiration, some food for thought, and that was the inspiration behind
And
the book.
and he was at one point of time, he was, when taking UPSC was perhaps far away from his life, one point of time he was so desperate to earn money that he tried everything. I mean, he wrote a letter to Madam Mamata Banerjee, also the then sports minister. Tell them about that. What did you do?
Yeah, so this whole journey till I completed my graduation and then post-graduation, that time was very difficult time for me. Like at every moment, there were difficulties, like at home, because of the indebtedness, loss of crops, and the
House got mortgaged.
Yeah, our house was got mortgaged. My elder sister got married, and because of the dowry, lot of loan my father has to take, and wherever he used to try something, he used to get failure. A lot of corruption he has to face everywhere. So all that started impacting, and it started affecting me. On one side, I was supposed to put a lot of efforts in to show good result in the academics. On the other side, when in the night I used to talk to my mother or to someone in my family, it used to depress me. So immediately I used to run for something, that let me get some job. So whatever opportunity was there, I used to apply, even stand for any kind of recruitment for, say, police or BSF or army or anything. So
And this is what happens with the Group E division boys.
Yes.
I also belong to that Group E division. That's why I understand the pain of it. Tell them about the Group E division. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So, it is like when you come from situation like this and you compete at, say, the national level for the competition like Indian Civil Service or something like that, then on one side you compete with everyone on equal footing, but on the other side you compete with yourself, your self-belief, your confidence, you are proving yourself that you are able to reach to that level and things like that. And that because from the childhood you are being bombarded with so many negative things that your confidence somewhere get compromised.
Yeah.
So that struggle I feel was more difficult than cracking the civil services and getting into IS.
Yes.
So
Thank you, Rajesh. And I know we would have learnt and heard about many of those episodes and incidents, but I would request all of you to go through this book. Ma, I have become collector. Yeah, just after this. And so we have heard these two stories. I would I would like some of you to interact and say if you have any reaction, question, or anything you want to ask, please. She is there. Give it.
You talk about the extraordinary influence of your mother. Can you talk a little about your father? Did he encourage you? How did your relationship go with your father? And when you became successful, was that celebrated by him?
Yeah, I think when I talk about my mother, certainly father is there in a subtle way. Generally, men are not express in their emotions, and sometimes in some families they are more dominated by the women in terms of taking care and shaping their children. So even though the economical aspect of my family was being dealt by my father, but my mother was responsible for kind of looking at us closely in terms of our education and everyday upbringing. And couple of occasions what happened, while my father when he used to express in a very violent way. So when he kind of beat me once, so it was little too much. So my mother got very angry with him, that why he becomes so aggressive with the child. And then that time he told her that you from now you will take care of him. So.
Yes. And second, that Air Force, when you were ready to join Air Force, and your father, that is also a support. Your father and mother
both of them, they were supporting me like a rock. But like they allow me to take my own decisions. They never said you get into IS. No. But they said you work hard, even if you failed in this attempt, you put your best, and one day you will be successful. So those little few words were kind of a big tonic for me, and those words were sufficient.
So yes, father was a silent supporter and listener, but he was there. Anyone else, please? These are, of course, the stories which I don't think people have many questions about, because in India we have seen that the only thing is that this Rajesh's story delves deep into a lot of lessons and learnings which he has had through all through when he was traveling that path. So, if there are no questions, any questions from Veena Raman, madam? About the cops? People have a lot of questions about cops, because cops are always looked at with suspicion and not with so much of empathy. So if nobody has a question, I would like to wrap up the session with thanks to both the panelists. We would like you to read these books and understand what all they have gone through and what are they written in the book. And they are available in the bookstore here, and they can be signed also. They are here right now. And thank you very much. In the early morning session, you people have arrived in a foggy day, so to say, but it's a wonderful ambience, and thank you very much for supporting us and KLM all through years. Though we have changed venues, but we have not changed the spirit. We'll keep on doing it. Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you, Sanjana.